Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call this Student Senate meeting to order at 10:32 a.m. Yeah, good morning. And then with that, we will move on to roll call. And I know Amy is here. So Amy, if you could take it away for roll call.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize for not being here last week. I totally forgot about time. But anyways, President Naomi.
Present.
VP Ramses. President Mark.
Present.
Director of Finance Zach. Director of Legislative Affairs Jacob.
Present.
Director of Public Relations Nick. Director of Communications Amy, present. Senator David.
I'm here.
Senator Rachel. Senator Reed.
Here.
Senator Stacy.
Present.
Senator Mary Kay. Senator Hamza. Senator Beheshta. Senator Sasha.
Present.
And Senator Oscar. So we have 8 out of 16 members present, so the quorum has been met. Oh, you're muted, Naomi.
Naomi, you're muted.
Thank you. We actually, Ramses is no longer on the board. He had other conflicts. So we have 8 out of 15 and we're still good for quorum. And then Hamza also, sorry, he has an excused absence. So yeah, okay, perfect. So we have quorum, so we can keep going. Next, we'll move on to adoption of the agenda. I'm going to share screen. Fingers crossed, I'm going to share screen. Okay, it looks good so far. Okay, and here's our agenda for today. Scroll down. Okay, if there are no objections, our agenda will be adopted. Hearing and seeing no objections, our agenda is adopted. Moving on to approval of the minutes. These are the minutes from last week. Brett, if you have the minutes, you are more than welcome to share screen. I might have to give you access. I'm not sure if I've done that already. Okay, you should be able to now if you have, if you can.
I put them in the chat. Can everyone see those?
I cannot.
Okay. Wow.
It's in the chat for me.
I think it's probably just my device, iOS device. I never see any files that get put in the chat.
I can share screen if you need me to. Let me just close out some paperwork.
No worries, no worries.
Files. I have like 4 requisitions and all sorts of stuff on here and student info. So let me close this out. Okay. Sorry.
No worries, Brett. Take your time. I kind of put you on the spot there, so you're good.
I can share screen if that's easier.
I got it now. There we go.
Yay.
So I'll just casually scroll through here.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so if there are no objections, we will approve these minutes. Hearing and Seeing no objections, the minutes are approved. Okay, thank you, Brett. Moving on to Chair's message. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see so many people here today. I always love it when we have a full Zoom room. Oh, it's so great. Thank you again to Sarah Lehman, Kate Williamson, and the MUN members that are present here today. Let's start with some congratulations. I want to congratulate Mary Kay. She led the Art to Heart, is it Art to Heart or Heart to Art? One of them, event last night. I was present. I got to paint this. It was very fun. It was a fun time, very relaxing. So congratulations, Mary Kay, on an event well done. Congratulations to the MUN Club for their participation representation at the conference last weekend. Excellent job, you guys. Also, congratulations to our ASB election winners. I know Stacy and Mark are present here today, so congratulations to you both. And then a last announcement is that we've brought this up before, but CABE is having our Pet Palooza event. So you can meet the adoptable pets. I think they're going to be showing dogs. You can see their adoptable pets, and then you see any you like, you can make further arrangements with the SPCA. So it'll be a fun time. I'm hoping to see a lot of you guys there. I'm really excited for it. And I think that's all I have for Chair's message. So with that, we will move on to Advisor's message.
All right. Well, aloha, everyone. Happy Friday. This is week 12, if I'm not mistaken. Might be more than that, actually. This is the 12th meeting of this semester. Let's put it that way. So, you know, we're coming down. There's 2 more meetings after this left. So May 7th is the last official Senate meeting. May 4th is the last CABE meeting. So we're coming down on the wire here. Like Naomi said, it's great to see so many folks in the Zoom room. This might be a record this year. So that's pretty awesome. I see some guests here, so hello. It's nice to see some of you. It's been, what, 14 months? So nice to see you all. And then I see some folks that were recently elected to Student Senate. So I see Colton and Brianna. Congratulations, and Dunya as well. I hope I'm not missing anyone. So I sent the election results to the board. I believe I sent so many emails yesterday. I can't remember who I sent what. It's a busy day, and I did not post them on Instagram yet. So I will do that when I'm done chatting here. But you know, everyone that ran was elected. So we have a president-elect, President-elect Burrows, shout out. You're gonna be in Naomi's chair here very soon. So for some of you that are new, that just got elected, your term technically starts July 1st. This board technically goes till June 30th. What we'll do, and I'll send you all emails about this, but we'll do an orientation in late July, early August, depending on what the world looks like and if we can be on ground or not. And then that first week of school in August, the next year's board will be off and running. So there's some trainings and stuff. So if you're sitting in this meeting and you're going, what is all this stuff, right? We'll go through all that. Let's see, a couple updates. Governance committees. I got an email this morning that I've been waiting for 5 months. They have processed your payment. So if you served on a fall shared governance committee, they are sending those out soon. So make sure your e-services address is correct, because they will be sending that out based on your e-services, info. I met with the artist that this board and last year's board worked together on to commission that art piece that you all passed with the, and I beg your pardon, I can't remember their names from the movie Hidden Figures, but the actual people, not the movie stars. That painting is gonna go in the STEM Center. I worked with Pat Wood, who's the Kaneko Art Gallery faculty member. So got together with the artist this week, working on getting the tax forms and all that stuff done so that they can get started on that. So it's been a project in the making, but shout out to this board and last year's board for making that happen. So hopefully when folks come back on ground in the fall, there'll be a nice big art piece there that was sponsored by or commissioned by you all. So let's see. Naomi gave the Model UN shout out. I know there's folks here and they're on the agenda, so well done. President Dixon gave you all a shout out at our kind of like executive meeting yesterday. So you all represent the college quite well. It's great to see that, you know, we're still doing things even on Zoom. So shout out to you all. And then that's really all I have. I was gonna share a haha funny video today. I was talking to Naomi and Mark about it, but we have a lot of stuff to cover, but it has been a heavy week for a lot of folks. I want to acknowledge that, recognize that. My intention was to have some laughs to kind of deal with all that, but we will do it at the last meeting, I promise. So with that, I will hand it back to Naomi. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. One other thing I forgot in my chair's message is that we are planning on having a joint budget committee meeting next week, Thursday. So we do need 2 student senators that will be there, in addition to Zach and myself and Mark. So we are thinking around 2 o'clock on Thursday. So if you have that time available, please reach out to me. We do need those 2 members there. It will be important for the next board. Okay, with that, we will move on to public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address the student senators on issues not already appearing on the agenda. A limit of 2 minutes per speaker shall be observed with a maximum of 4 minutes per topic. No discussion is allotted on public comment. The law does not permit any action to be taken nor extend a discussion of any items not on the agenda. The ASB Student Senate may briefly respond to statements made for questions posed. However, for further information, please contact the ASB Student Senate President for the item of discussion to be placed on a future agenda. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to make a comment? There'll be another chance later on if you think of something too.
Does this mean to express a concern or grievance, or what does this mean?
Concern, grievance, announcements, good grades. Yeah, open to the public, whatever you wish to share with your representatives here.
So I wish to bring this to the student leadership in the capacity of, I got into a discussion with the finance department about being charged a bus light rail fare. And they told me that I could take this up with the student leadership to have this issue looked at and possibly reformed. I am not particularly fond of giving my money for someone else to ride the light rail. I live on a fixed income. I need to survive on what I got. So if this is the proper form, that's fine. If it's not, then I'll take another route. That's my concern.
Okay, thank you for bringing up your concern, Richard. If you'd like, we can get this on a future agenda item, but we can't take any action on this right now. But thank you for bringing it up. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to make a comment?
Sure. Could I ask a follow-up question about the previous speaker?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
I was just wondering what specific action you were hoping to be taken in the future, although it could not be taken here. What resolution exactly were you seeking?
Richard, if you'd like to answer that question, you can.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. Can you summarize the?
Jacob was asking what action you would like to be taken in regards to the comment, the problem, the issue that you brought up.
I think that the school should upsell that and not automatically put it in the student fees. I think they should attempt to upsell that individually. That's my resolution.
Okay, thank you for clearing that. Miles, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was possible to have the student council discuss adding a class, like CFC added a regression analysis class in order to make it so students going in will have to a 4-year later on will have a kind of a background knowledge, or may not even have to take a field specific regression class. So if that could be a topic of discussion in the future, that would be awesome.
Yeah, if there are any formal, like if there are any formal requests for something to be placed on agenda, what you can do is you can go to the ASB website. Our website is asb-arc.org. And if you go to the top drop-down menu section, there will be something on the far right that says resources. You can click on that, and there will be a section for agenda item requests. And it will lead you to a link, a Google form link, where you can input the information you would like to be discussed. So if there's something you would like to be discussed in the future, please use that link, use that form. Okay, and then I think, Nancy, did you say you wanted to make a public comment?
Yeah, so I don't know if ARC does this, but I'm planning to be in the medical field, so I was thinking that maybe there can be like a fellowship or something. I don't know if ARC has that program, but I'm just saying maybe it would be a good idea.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because we had that as a topic of discussion a few weeks ago, an internship, I believe it was, that FLC is trying to plan with the Mercy Medical Institution, and it is something that the next board has expressed some interest in. So if this is a project that they will pursue, it would have to be taken up with the next board.
Okay.
Thank you for the public comment. Thank you
You're
everyone for the
welcome.
public comment. We love hearing public comments, you guys. We really love it. Okay, anyone else from the public who wishes to make a comment? Okay, there's another chance later if anybody thinks of anything, but we will move on now to appointments and swearing in. We actually do not have any appointments and swearing in, so we are going to move on to unfinished business, which we also have nothing of, so we'll move on to new business. Our first item, library textbook reserves, OER and ZTC. Can we get a motion to discuss this? And you can build your motion off of what is written on the agenda.
Can we get some more context? Like, what do you mean when you say a motion? I don't understand that.
This would be something that a senator has to do. Let's see. I see several of you senators here, so if we don't have a motion, we're just going to have to skip this item. And we have two very friendly library representatives here that would like to address this topic. So,
Chair,
Jacob, yeah.
I move to discuss library textbook reserves, OER, and ZTC.
Thank you, Jacob. A motion has been made and by Jacob, and it's been seconded by both Sasha and Mark. Perfect. Okay, with that, we will move on to this topic of discussion. Sarah or Kate, if you would like to take it away, you are more than welcome to.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for having us and for moving to discuss this item. My name is Sarah and I'm one of the ARC librarians, and with me is Kate Williamson, another librarian. Hello. So we're here to talk about textbook affordability. And would it be possible for me to be able to share my screen?
I think you should be able to. You can try right now.
Okay, let me try. Oh yeah.
Yay.
Okay, cool. So let me just. So the library, as some of you may know, we invest a lot of time and resources in purchasing textbooks, and we believe that textbooks and just learning materials in general should be affordable. The library has, for several years, we've devoted a good chunk of our budget to purchasing copies of textbooks that students can borrow for 2 hours at a time. During COVID, we had to shift that and find new ways to meet that need, because obviously we couldn't have people coming in to borrow books for 2 hours. So we've been trying multiple different approaches to continue to meet that need for textbooks. But one thing we realized is that some of the assumptions we'd been making about textbooks and which ones would be a good idea to buy were no longer holding true. Like, for example, a lot of math textbooks, which have been really popular in terms of checkout, they now are maybe they always have, but they're requiring like you to buy like a course code that where you could turn in your homework, and then that comes with an ebook. So then there seemed to be less need for the print copy. So anyway, that specific detail isn't super important, but the point is that we decided we needed some additional information and feedback from students and faculty and staff about how we can best meet that need. So what is the library doing? So as I was mentioning, we buy copies of nearly all ARC textbooks to loan to students. Previously, we did mostly those 2-hour loans, but now during COVID, we loan out our books for just the whole semester. And we're looking at buying a lot more copies of 1 semester loans. And so you can find your textbook on the ARC website by clicking on textbooks, and then you just fill out the department and the course number and the professor's name, and then it'll tell you whether the library has it and your options for borrowing it. We also advocate for faculty, and we support faculty in adopting lower or even no cost textbooks. And the image on the screen here is, it's a set of books from an organization called OpenStax, and they write what are called open educational resources versions of textbooks. So those are like sort of open source texts that can be accessed for free and even remixed and adapted to meet like a specific need. So these are just some examples of like a no-cost textbook. So we work with faculty who are interested in maybe changing from a textbook that costs money to one that doesn't cost money, or even maybe they're seeking a way to lower the cost. So we, Kate and I are both serve, and I think Jacob too, and maybe, yeah, Jacob serve on a committee, an affordable learning materials committee. So that's a group of faculty and students that work together on this. And there is actually a way that in the class schedule, you can search specifically for books that has by 0 textbook cost. So I'm going to go to the class schedule, and it's a little bit hidden, but you go to more, and then you go to textbook cost, and you click free textbook. And then, let's see, I'll try math. I haven't actually tried this before. Hopefully this works. Okay, so I'm going to click on this option. And then you can see right here where it says textbook, it says this class has 0 cost textbooks. So that's why if you are seeking a class that doesn't have a textbook cost, that you can look for it in that schedule of classes that way. So then the other thing we're doing is kind of what we're doing right now. We're talking with ARC faculty. Kate and I and other librarians are going to go around to different departments and talk with faculty and staff about textbook costs, just sort of bringing up the idea of lower or no cost textbooks, finding out more about how their department uses textbooks. But also we're seeking student input on how the library can help support students and help lower the cost of textbooks. So we have a few specific questions that we're hoping can be kind of guide the discussion. There may be questions we haven't even thought of that you would like to provide the answers to, and that's fine too. But so our 3 questions Kate and I kind of came up with are, first of all, how have high textbook costs impacted your experience at ARC? How can the library improve our textbook loan program? And what do you wish your instructors knew about textbook affordability? So kind of, open-ended, we're just hoping for student input. We think there's probably a lot that we just don't even know we don't know about how students use textbooks, what would be more helpful. So we're just hoping to get input. We're going to take notes and listen and bring some of your feedback back to the discussions that we're having with faculty and staff too. So so with that, that's all I had for my part of the presentation. Kate, did you have anything you wanted to share before we open it up for discussion?
No, I think let's hear from folks for these questions, and then we can always clarify too if you have any questions for us too.
Yeah, sounds good. So if anyone has any answers to these questions or feedback you'd want to share, we're happy to hear that.
Sorry, if you would mind briefly, or not briefly, could you, I'm having a hard time seeing folks' faces, which is how I see it. Would you mind stop sharing for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. And okay, Miles and Sylvia. Okay, sure, why not? Miles, I saw you first, so go ahead.
Well, first I wanted to ask if there's like an agreement with Adobe Digital Editions, which is like an e-reader that the school, if the school has that, you could potentially do a 170-day loan on books and for free that allows them to read something from, let's say, the library, but from an ebook on your computer, on your Chromebook or whatnot. Is that a thing?
Can I answer that?
Please, yeah.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so publishers lock down their content. This is a struggle that we've especially faced in COVID, is that a lot of traditional textbook publishers won't license to libraries. So even though you can purchase an ebook version from the bookstore, a lot of times the library can't purchase a copy of that to make available to students because it's a one license, like only one person can own that book, even though it's a digital version. So even if we had Adobe Digital Editions or a version to make something available online that we have in print, legally, because of copyright, we can't. So one of the things that the library has been doing is we have been scanning the first few chapters of books and making them available as PDFs to faculty. But again, we have to comply with copyright, so we can't do the entire book. We can only do like the first couple chapters at the most. So definitely getting ebooks or access codes available through the library is a big struggle, and that's part of what we're going to be talking about with faculty, is that as they're switching to online versions that may be cheaper, depending on the publisher, the library is not able to provide it. Does that answer?
Or if I can ask another question.
Yes, Miles, go ahead.
So if open source aggregators are okay, would organizations such as PDF Drive or Z Library be permitted, or would that infringe on, like for extending the database, school's database, would that infringe on any copyright if there's a open source aggregator?
The Z Library, where like you could find like PDF versions of textbooks, those are probably mostly pirated. And so we can't really like
promote that.
Yeah.
A lot of them are legally available.
Okay.
The type of organization they are is international. They're permitted by the Pontier Institute and whatnot.
Yeah.
They take down books every once in a while that are not allowed to be there, that are pirated.
Sure.
They have very distinct rules. So
that's, I think I'm taking notes on those items, and that's something we can certainly look into more.
And also, so like Sarah mentioned, open education resources. So like the California Academic Senate and other organizations are working to create openly licensed course materials, but then faculty need to adopt those materials. So that's something that the library has been promoting, especially Sarah and myself, to encourage faculty to choose course materials that are openly licensed. That, like, for example, like the screenshot that Sarah shared with OpenStax, where those are not traditional publishers and they are available on the OpenStax website, and then that can be available for free to students. I have an entire website that I made about different repositories of openly licensed resources for faculty to be able to find. But so like I saw in the chat, someone mentioned horticulture. So a lot of the career education courses, because they're so specific, or there just isn't as many programs, there isn't as many openly licensed textbooks for a lot of the career education or CTE areas. So for just like a side note, sometimes I tend to ramble, but like this summer, I'm working specifically with some CTE instructors to try to create or find openly licensed free resources for students. But it really depends on the individual instructor, what they want to adopt. They have what we call academic freedom. So it's up to them to choose what they want to use for their course materials, and also, you know, just what's available openly to license. So So yes, I think the more places that we can find to be able to host openly licensed course materials and offer that to faculty is great. And definitely that's something that we have been advocating for as well too.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Thank you, Miles. Sorry, I didn't mention this before, but generally following Robert's Rules of Order, questions should be addressed to the chair. Sorry. I'm going to give it over to Sylvia. Sylvia, I see you have a question, and after Sylvia, Stacy.
Yes, I just wanted to comment real quick. I think this was brought up. I'm not sure if it was in a different meeting. I don't recall. I'm sorry, but there was something that you know, with students receiving financial aid, for example. I'm also an EOP&S, so when I get my book voucher, I don't get my book for this year, and I know, you know, due to the circumstances, I didn't get my book voucher until a month into my classes. So that got me behind, of course, in my classes. So there's just a lot of improvement that we can do in communication within just our programs, our financial aid, and our professors, just educating our professors that, you know, not all students are able to afford, you know, our books right off the back. And you know, there are these resources that we are taking advantage, such as financial aid and programs, but unfortunately they're not dispersed in a timely manner where it kind of sets up the students to get behind. So I just wanted to share that comment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Sylvia, Sarah, or Kate, would you guys like to respond? Would either of you like to respond?
Oh, I took notes and I think that's a super good point. And whenever I have the opportunity to bring that up with people who can do something about it, I will. So thank you.
Okay, perfect. Stacy, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Miles for bringing the words open source to the conversation today, because that's very important for the future. And I also wanted to acknowledge Sylvia's comment concerning access issues with vouchers. So for example, if you're taking an honors computer science class and you're programming and you don't have access to your resources for the first month of class, that is going to cause you to drop that class. And not being able to predict that that would be your situation, you're kind of stuck with that W on your transcript. Because professors are not going to be lenient about these kinds of access issues. And there's really nothing students can do about that. So that being said, there are also other issues for STEM students, and I also understand early childhood education in a variety of majors where they have laboratory manuals and workbooks, or even coloring books, like for the zoology class and human anatomy physiology classes. These coloring books are amazing resources, and sometimes they're $20 or $30, but this can be a prohibitive cost for students. And also understanding that these workbooks, these coloring books that are written in, and also access codes have absolutely no resale value for students, whereas hard copy books do. So although we are, you know, positive on kind of PDFs and things like that for access for technology, there is a hit in terms of students have no ability to resell textbooks for any value for their future education. Thank you for considering these things.
Thank you, Stacy. Would Kate or Sarah like to respond?
Just thank you so much for the comment. I think that's a good point, and I've taken notes, and I'm sure Kate has too.
Okay, perfect. Rich, I see your hand up. Go ahead. Oh,
I'm trying to follow what's going on, so I don't understand. Why can't the library, why can't the student government arrange something like car wash or something, take the funds, give it to the library, let the library buy the book? And I understand what Stacy said about the ebook situation, but get a copy of the entire book and then resell it at a lower rate as an ebook, you know, maybe 40% or 30% of the value of the book. And over time, the library will recoup that money. You know, is that possible to do that? To take taxes from the many and redistribute it among those who need it? Is that possible?
Brent, would you like to respond? I don't know. I feel like I see you gearing up there.
Let me make sure I understand the question first, and then I don't know how it works on the library end, but so can students Senate either raise money or spend money on the books and give them to the library? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like, I don't know, do a car wash, take the money from it, give it to the library, tell the library to go buy the $400 book. and release it to the students at a lower rate, maybe $75 over X number of students.
So I believe his question is if we can raise, as ASB can raise money to give to library that they can spend on textbooks.
I've never been a part of a ASB board that has actually done a fundraiser. And the reason why is because ASB has its own funds from student rep fees, from parking passes, all that stuff. However, you wouldn't be able to, this is another gray area with your funds. You wouldn't be able to gift the books. I don't know how it would work in conjunction with the library. I could try to do some research on that, but with your funds, you can't buy things and then give them to people, right? Because it's a gift of public funds. I know it's all for the greater good, right? But it's, so let me do some homework on that. I don't know if the library folks want to discuss that on their end, but
yeah. So
go ahead. Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, that's something we could discuss more, maybe, Brett. I mean, the library gets funds too, and we do spend a lot of them on textbooks. It's just when you think about how many students there are and how many textbooks we would need to buy to like provide a like it's in the millions of dollars. Like it would just, we buy as many as we can. One thing that could work for raising funds is, and we can't resell books in the library. Like we can just loan them out. But there is a way to raise funds through the foundation, the district foundation. And we've talked about that a little bit of like, the library could get donations from employees, the public, whoever, and then use that money to buy books. We would have to think about if like a fundraiser type thing, but anyway, yeah. So the point taken though is like definitely the library, what we do want to always be finding ways to get more hands into more books into students' hands. So thank you for that sentiment.
Can I add on to that?
Go ahead.
We do buy a lot of copies of textbooks, and part of it that we're running into is that often instructors may not, we go off of the bookstore list, so the same place that students go to figure out what your textbook's going to be for your class. We use that same list for the library, so sometimes faculty, not to put them on the spot, but wait till the last minute to put in their textbook adoptions. And so in the last couple semesters, we've been getting a lot of copies of textbooks, but they haven't been checked out by students. And one of the assumptions that we made was that maybe, we were getting them too late to be helpful. And so maybe that's why students weren't checking them out. Or maybe students didn't know that we had copies of their books. So I shared the link that we had in our presentation where you can search for textbooks in the library on our website, if you go to the library website and then textbooks. So I think buying more copies of books is something we've definitely been considering and have been doing. We've been exponentially increasing the number of books that we're buying, but sometimes we're finding that those books aren't ending up in students' hands. And so that's part of why we're here, is to get a better idea of how we can make sure that the books that we're already buying are getting checked out to students and used by students. So yeah.
Okay, 1 second, Chad, I saw your comment, but Stacy, is your hand still up from previously, or is this another question?
My mistake, I'll lower my hand.
No worries. Chad, go ahead.
Thanks. Sorry, I just wanted to add in the work that the library does to be able to provide books on loan really brings a significant benefit when it comes to students' financial aid packages. Because what happens is anytime a book is gifted or given to a student through whatever program, that does count against the student's financial aid overall package as a resource. So when the library goes forward and does work like this, providing books on loan or available for a semester that are returned, that does not count against the student's financial aid package, therefore maximizing the amount of aid that a student gets. So from a federal financial aid standpoint and state aid eligibility standpoint, it really is a significant benefit what the library is doing. So as you're having conversations and potentially weighing in on matters, I did want you to have that information that in terms of the amount of aid that lands to a student's pocket, if you will, and helping them afford college, these open resource opportunities and circumstances by which students can loan and then return is a tremendous benefit because the student doesn't have to count it. So when you're talking about affordability in those areas, this is one of those things that the library has done that is a true benefit directly to the cost and affordability of college. So I just want to make sure that that was known and something to consider as you do broadcasting or consider options, even resolutions as a student group. Thanks.
So much, Chad. That's really helpful, and I never knew that.
Thank you, Chad. And Bianca and Miles, I see both your hands, and I'll get to you in a sec. But so I just wanted to share something. So I know several students, myself included, we rent our textbooks from programs like Amazon or I think it's Chegg, if I'm remembering correctly. And I found that to be a pretty good option, but it's not, it could still be pretty high a cost. So I'm wondering if this is possible at all, is having some kind of partnership with a program like that, like Amazon or Chegg, that they could be discounted for students, the rent rates. I don't know if that's possible, but just something I wanted to share. Okay, and then Miles, since you got to speak already, I'm gonna let Bianca go first. Bianca, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention
Bianca, your mic is a little broken right now. Broken up, the speech. If it's easier, you can share your message in the chat and I will make sure that's answered.
Okay, is this better or worse?
Yep, that's better. We can hear you.
Sorry. Just in reference to that third question that was sort of presented about the instructors and what we wish that they might know about textbook affordability. I know that personally, when I guess renting textbooks, I have used Chegg in the past, pretty much for every class that I've had. And while they are definitely discounted, I'm still paying $60 to $70 per textbook when required. And it's definitely been a point of frustration for me, at least, when I spend so much money on these textbooks only to have the professor never reference it or never even use it in class. I know that sometimes there is a need for it, but when a professor is directly referencing a textbook and they're lecturing about it in class, there isn't always a need to further reference the textbook directly on your own time when they've already discussed, I guess, whatever the topic is at hand. So I guess I just kind of wanted to mention that, throw that out there just so that it was known, because I know that I'm probably not the only one that has experienced something like that. But yeah, that's definitely been kind of an issue.
Oh yeah. I had a professor who created their PowerPoint presentations from the bullet points in the textbooks and then still asked us to read, even though it was all word for word the same. So you're not the only one experiencing that. And then Miles and then Jacob.
Yeah, I had a question about, so when the school checks for students who can't afford a textbook, is this just the sample of people who report that they're having difficulties, or is there a methodology to form a score, like an impact score, where you say this is the probability of students who we haven't, who slipped through the net, who you haven't got. So, for example, let's say you have like 5 students report out of 10 that they have difficulties, and some of them drop out, like 2 of them drop out, another 2 drop out, they don't say anything, and then the other students have, they're fine. How do you measure something like that? Because that would help a lot in negotiations, I think, in forming deals with organizations and companies to better student, create more discounts and student values. Is there like a framework there?
Sarah, would you like to respond?
I'll try, and then maybe Chad can help too. But so if I understand your question, it's like, how does the school determine whether a student has financial need? And I think like, whether a student can or can't afford their texts. I think they can use like FAFSA information on like if a student fills out their financial aid form, like whether they're eligible for certain kinds of, oh yeah, go ahead, Miles.
In regards to technology, a lot of students might not be able to fill out the FAFSA, right? Yeah. So how do you measure what you don't know? Because I believe with statistics teachers, maybe some who've had like courses in Bayesian statistics would be a great source to like tap into to see if you can negotiate a framework to be built with the computer science department. But I think like measuring or forming a probability of who you're not impacting might provide like a resource to look at, so you can find other methods of communicating with them,
right?
So that maybe the library would find new, unique, methods to create, this a ubiquitous learning environment.
Sure. Chad, did you have anything else maybe to answer that question of how we determine like financial need?
Sure. May I ask the question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So financial need does need to come through an official process. To the question about if students technologically cannot support that information, actually through the U.S. Department of Education and on ground, it is legally required that paper forms be provided for students who do not have application information. Those could be obtained from the U.S. Department of Education website directly, also by contacting the financial aid office, which can be done by phone or through email in our current environment at least. But those are the official metrics, is what either comes off of the FAFSA or comes off of the California Dream Act application. And that is pretty ubiquitously used throughout at least the state of California, taking the CATA into account, but federally as the basis for most determinations of need. Students' need is based upon their income standards on what's called the EFC, estimated family contribution. That is an algorithm that is derived federally, and so it takes into account the cost of the institution. It has a lot of weight in areas, but one of the components is a consideration of textbook cost. That textbook cost is set by the state chancellor's office. They take a review of all the information that's provided from all the colleges across the state of California, and they come up with an aggregate estimation of what the upper level is of costs of those textbooks across the state. And so we adopt that particular upper end level, taking into account as much as we can those areas. Also, there are some other considerations that are taken in housing that's based upon region and things like that. And if we depart from those, we have to have a analysis performed that is approved by the state chancellor's office and ourselves to be able to demonstrate that our work has had research to support departing from those standard cost areas. So hopefully that helps provide. But outside of that, again, another thing I would really suggest is so many students do not complete a FAFSA or a CATA at our institutions. And although that information is out and it's tried to be shared from the high schools as students are coming in traditionally through the traditional pipeline of moving directly from high schools, the counselors are speaking with the students as those that are coming back from just members of community that have maybe had a lapse or time out. We really do try to guide students to that area. There are two functions, as you know, of our entry process. It's fill out your application to be a student at ARC or within the district, whichever college you choose, and to fill out your FAFSA and to select that area. And the reason for that is so many different scholarships, programs, even HERF dollars right now that are coming out are really based upon the at least attempted need and demonstrating some option where the student has reached out and said, yes, if financial sources are available to me, then we want those to be available to the students. And that is a big area, and I would really suggest in any piece of communication, especially to our senators, as you are representing groups, tell those groups as you go back, I'll represent you but represent us so I can have the strength to do that by filling out the FAFSA. And it is somewhat cumbersome. Everyone understands that the FAFSA is not exactly a short document, but however, or the CATA, conversely for students that are in undocumented status. But in those circumstances, that is how those are driven. That information comes out from algorithms that are not set by us, but are set by the federal or by the state governments.
If I may respond, Chair.
Go ahead, Miles.
Yeah, that's great. What I was thinking was less of another standard as a financial determinant, but more of a ratio of seeing if you are like the work that is being done is like enough, and the score would be in an arrangement to say that maybe the student representatives need to do more outreach. So more of a social determiner rather than of the program's effectiveness. But I don't know if you have that already as well.
Chair, can I respond?
Thank you, Miles. Yes, go ahead, Chad. And then let's let Jacob talk after that. Ask his question.
So Miles, yeah, I think that's a tremendous idea. As we know, and it's been spoken about here, there's the student design team as well as this particular capacity. So everything that can be done to help spread the word for students to complete those particular official documents is really good. Also on the college application, when students just apply, they do give the income ranges of their families. But many times those are a weaker determiner just simply because it doesn't take into account things such as family size, number of dependents, things of that nature that are there. Sometimes even though a family might look really good on paper, there might have a lot of expenses going out that based upon the number of dependents and things of that nature that just aren't able to be captured from the college application. So I really encourage, as your circles, tell people fill out those applications, especially I would suggest anyone that's in our undocumented population groups. Those are I think some of our most impacted students. And anything you can do to help, the offices do make efforts to reach those communities, but your help as far as the student to student, your neighbor, if you will, contacts are tremendously helpful. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Chad. So we have about 6 minutes left for this topic. So I'd like to let Jacob ask or make his comment.
Well, I just really wanted to comment on a couple of the points made. I know back before we got to actual FAFSA and financial aid discussion, we were mentioning possible ways of getting textbooks to students. And I wanted to make people aware of like all the policy conflicts that we have to face when we've been, trying to work through these issues. I know over the past year, we've been working on the Affordable Learning Materials Committee, and we've seen, like they said, we have to navigate not making students less eligible for financial aid. We have to meet district, state policies, school policies. And then on top of that, we also had the bookstore switch because I think the bookstore was not being profitable. So another company came in and took that over. And so on top of that, we have to make sure we comply with the contract that the school has with that vendor. So that might be a block from doing things like, the teaming up with Amazon to do the rentals. Like that probably wouldn't get approved because the bookstore has to make their profits, and they wouldn't be able to do so if we build these other frameworks and make things cheaper for students, because at some point the bookstore has to come in and make their profits, because at the end of the day, it is a business. So like there have been other things looked into on the FAFSA side, and the Student Senate has actively been trying to address those issues for the past 2 years. Our lobbying efforts have focused on financial aid, and it was coming back to the issue we were saying, oh, well, how can students get more money and what's the determination? It's the formulas used for the FAFSA and the CATA, and we have been, even this year, we just advocated for the Cal Grant reform, which would change that and get more hands in the students who are lower income, first generation, student parents, things like that. So we're actively taking steps trying to get money into the hands that's necessary. And then to touch on Miles' point, he was touching on what data there is. Another thing I've been doing is working with the lobbying firm Strategic Education Services, who actually serves the Los Rios district. And so another group of people is actively putting together the framework to get that data. It's called the Cradle to Career Data System. And what they're trying to do is aggregate data from when kids were children up until when they get into the workforce, and then make that data available to researchers so they can figure out where these problems are and more accurately address these issues. So these are all policy issues that have continuously been worked on, but there are so many conflicts and so many little details that are in legislation that need to be worked out, that it takes time, because the legislative process, as all political science majors know, was set up to be slow. It wasn't so we could just go in there and change things. And so it takes a lot of time, and we've been working to try and actively address these issues, but there are a lot of those policy conflicts and a lot of slow frameworks that need to be built out while still complying with the, literal mounds of legislation that there are out there. So we've been doing what we can and just want to make people aware of the efforts that are out there.
Thank you, Jacob. So we're almost out of time on this topic. So if someone either wants to move to extend time on this topic, or Sarah or Kate wants to make a final comment. Yeah.
I think we have final comments, but also we want to give people, this is time for us to listen. So we want to give that opportunity.
Okay, sounds good. Are there any other comments at this point? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Sarah and Kate, if you want to make any more statements at this point before we move on to our next topic, you are more than welcome to.
Can I go, Sarah?
Oh, please, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kate.
I just want to say thank you to Jacob for his service on the Affordable Learning Materials Committee. He has been so amazing and excellent, and we are going to really miss his input. And along those lines, we are looking for a new student representative for that committee to start next semester. So I think I included this in the agenda, so it's okay if I bring it up. But so I'm hoping before next semester starts, we can, you all can appoint someone. I'm the chair of that committee, so then I'll send them all of our meeting times. We meet on Thursdays from 3 to 4:30, if that works for folks, because I think, Jacob has done an excellent job, and I think it's very important to have a student voice on that committee. And then I just wanted to address too, like I put it in the chat, but like the library has nothing to do with the bookstore. We're a completely separate entity, but also I don't want to, villainize the bookstore. I think the bookstore monopoly is the tip of the iceberg, and there are deeper systemic issues beyond just the bookstore setting the prices. Like the publishers set the prices for textbooks. And so I think the library purchasing those books and our limitations of ebooks that we can get, and really, like, that's why Sarah and I are going around to different departments to talk to faculty, because I don't think it's just like a problem with the bookstore or just, a simple thing. I think faculty being able to look at different options of what they're requiring for their courses is a big way that we can make a difference for textbook costs. And I've been beating this drum for years now, but it's not a quick fix. It's something that's going to take time, but having your feedback and being able to take that back to faculty is very helpful. So I appreciate your time. And Sarah, did you have anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you very much for all your comments. This has been really helpful,
thank
and
you.
I've learned a lot, so thank you.
Thank you to Sarah and Kate for being here. I think this was a really good discussion. And for the appointment, that will have to be next board, but we have our next Student Senate president here, so I'm sure they're more than happy to appoint someone when the next board starts their term. Okay. With that, thank you. We will move on to our next item of business, which is the Model United Nations Club presentation. Again, if we could get a motion to move to this presentation.
Would that still be a motion to discuss?
I'm unclear at this point. I've tried to be
move-
more conscientious about parliamentary procedure, so I am sticking with making the motion, but I have no idea exactly what the motion is. So
think it's a motion to discuss, even though they're presenting. So I move to discuss the Model United Nations Club presentation.
Sounds good. Okay, we've got a motion. It's been moved by Jacob and seconded by Sasha to discuss the Model United Nations Club presentation. We have several members from Model United Nations Club here today, which is so great. Let's see. I would like to ask Reed, well, actually, Jacob, since you're the maker of the motion, would you like to, start us off?
I would love to. However, I think there are other people that, have set this up, so I hand the floor off to them.
Awesome. Okay. Is there anyone from the Model United Nations Club who would like to start us off today?
I'd be willing.
Yay. Okay. Reed is our co-president for Model United Nations.
Right. So I don't have much of a testimonial, but I will say that I was enormously impressed with the Far West Conference and their ability to maintain the structure and professionalism on Zoom. And I mean, I imagine it's pretty close to what it would have been in person. And our delegates did an excellent job representing ARC, and we were able to take home 3 awards. And yeah, I'd also like to give just a quick congratulations to our president, Naomi, who gave an amazing open plenary speech. So a round of applause for that. Yeah, that about wraps it up. It was great.
Oh yes. Okay. So last weekend we were at our conference. I'll just give a little summary here. We were at a conference, so it was like 10 hours of Zoom on Saturday and then like 8 hours of Zoom on Sunday, and then another hour on Friday and another one on Monday. And we did, our committee, all of our members, they were really excellent. They did a great job representing ARC, representing Ethiopia. It was really wonderful to see. And as Reed mentioned, we did take home 3 awards, or 3-ish awards, because it was, let's see, it was, I can't remember, excellency in our written work. I'm forgetting what the name of the award is, but we have that one. We have the opening plenary award, and then the award that was won by the General Assembly. And since Miles and Jarrell, Miles is here today. Miles, you can wave. Miles is here today. He was on that committee that won that award. Okay, yeah. So that's some background there. Cool. So let's see. Anyone else from MUN who wants to give their testimonial or share their experience at the conference? Go ahead, Miles.
So it's a pretty interesting experience to at least participate in General Assembly, especially in a really old and prestigious organization started in 1951 by the UN, in San Francisco, and it's hosted, at their former office building. Where you practice various, variants of rules, institutionalized rules similar to Robert's Rules of Order, which really gets you familiar with all sorts of different procedures. And aside from that, there's the communication that goes on with other delegates and the rapid pace at which you must find consensus within a specified amount of time. That's 3 days. You really learn social skills beyond what you would normally learn in a workplace, in a friend group, in an internship. Oftentimes you're still combating with office politics. Here it's office politics, times 2. Multiply that again by 20, and you've really got to find a way to work around everyone's needs and requirements. And that really helps you prepare for government. And a lot of people say no, and you have to find a way to reach that compromise. And that's a really important skill that, especially if you're going to be heading into government in the future, if you're going to be in a legislative body, finding a way to say no without saying no, without creating tension or partisanship on either side is really important. a lot of individuals who go into Model United Nations, somehow miraculously find their way into amazing jobs in the future, whether it's at the community college level, student senate, or whether it's, state level legislative writing. This is a very important club. Other organizations that you can join with are just the UN itself. A lot of people just go right into the Human Rights Commission. They get internships. It's a really good marker to have on your resume. The skills also help with forming connections and networks with other delegates. You can ask for someone's phone number for their LinkedIn account, whether it's on Zoom or it's in person, and you can form friendships and around certain issues, and you can learn more information. You can learn to, research skills you never thought you had. When I was at Diablo Valley College participating in Model United Nations, my former club host was Amir Araim. He worked as chief aide for the Human Rights Commissioner. And one thing he used to say is joining Model United Nations is like being a researcher, being a delegate, being a trustee, being a fiduciary for your country, one that you don't even know exists yet. And you learn about as much as a 3-month class, maybe within one. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. I realize there's more background that I forgot to mention, so apologies again. The reason we're actually presenting here today is because for those who weren't here in Student Senate before, when this was originally planned to be an in-person conference, we had requested funds from the Student Senate to travel to the conference and for housing arrangements, all that kind of thing. So we had requested $6,000, and the money was granted with the condition that we would come back and report on our experiences from the conference. And so that's actually why we're here today. So I had slipped my mind before. A few things. One thing Miles mentioned is the history of the particular conference that we are participating in. It's Model United Nations of the Far West. It's actually the second oldest conference in the United States. It's a really incredible conference, I will say that. Yeah, and I also had a really incredible experience as well, and I will share more, but let's see, is there anyone else from Model United Nations who would like to share anything at this point? Okay, I saw Jacob and Bianca both raise their hand around the same time, so I'm going to say Jacob first and then Bianca, sorry.
Let Bianca go first.
Okay,
I talk too much.
Totally fine. Bianca, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make it quick, don't worry.
No worries.
Just to say, it was my first year at being a part of MUN. I know that a lot of our members this semester were definitely newer to MUN, although we did have a few obviously rolling over. But yeah, I really wish that I knew about Model UN prior to this year. I know for a fact that I would have enjoyed it if we would have been in person. But that being said, I think it was done really well over Zoom. I was very surprised. I know that everyone obviously had never done the conference over Zoom before, but I think it went really smoothly. And I know personally, the one thing I was most, I think, hesitant about was speaking in front of other people. But I will say there is a definite sense of like community among all of the students across all of the colleges. As soon as you get there, there's definitely a competitive nature, but we're all in it for the same reason. And I definitely had a really good time. And I know that I'm one of the few people that is continuing and not transferring this year. So I look forward to continuing in Model United Nations. And I had a really great time. And I want to thank Naomi for being amazing and definitely making it feel a lot less scary. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. That was very, very nice. Thank you. To answer Lori's question briefly in the chat, we did not spend that money because it was online. So, but we figured we'd come back and report anyways because Student Senate was kind enough to grant us that money anyway. Okay, Jacob, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I went to the conference too. So always popping around to everything, but It was a really interesting experience. I know like I went in there expecting like, well, I didn't really know what to expect. And I showed up and there's like all these people in character acting like other countries and like speaking, like they don't speak in first person. They speak like they are the people. So I would say like Ethiopia moves to blah, blah, blah. And I had to talk like that for hours. And it was so like, it was kind of odd. And like, you're just playing this character and you get into it. And some people get so into it that they just play this character like to the death. And it's really interesting and cool. And it allows you to build better negotiation skills. I know Brett, like before we left, he was like, oh, you guys going to make some speeches and stuff. I didn't really make a speech. Naomi made speeches, but I was doing negotiating and, you know, everyone's trying to play these roles and get what their country is into. And another thing is we as a club, we're just doing it for fun, just for the heck of it. There's a lot of colleges there, like 4-year colleges there where kids were getting like graded, and depending on what they did, they got like a different grade. So there's people there taking it like very, very seriously because their grades depended on it. So it allows you to get in that serious environment and build the negotiation skills. And you also have to learn different parliamentary procedures. So it gets you used to learning different sets of rules and remembering it and applying those rules. So that can be really helpful in situations like this.
Thank you, Jacob. So Reed and I, we were in a pretty unique position in the club. We were permanent representatives. So instead of being assigned to different committees like Jacob and Miles and Bianca, we were kind of bouncing around the different committees. And it was really nice it was a really good experience because we got to see everyone else's amazing work and watching you guys we got to watch our committee members in our delegates in committees and seeing them create these resolutions, talking with people. It was really incredible to watch people come out of their shell and just get more into character. And I will say that I think I noticed for a lot of people, it was hard in the beginning to get into that character, to remember to speak as Ethiopia rather than as yourself. And I don't know for you, Miles or Jacob or Bianca, but I think from what I observed, it seems like you guys were really able to, towards the end, really get into character. It almost felt like natural. At least it appeared natural, you know, that it came to you just naturally when you were doing this. And it was just a really great experience to observe you guys. So I will say thank you for that experience. Okay, any questions or other comments? Oh, we have Naveed here too. He doesn't have, his mic is not working right now, but you can see his, if you look down at the bottom, you can see his picture. It says Ethiopia Economic and Social Council. Those were our, what did we call them? Oh, now I can't remember even. Credentials. Those were our credentials to let us into the committee, and it was really cool looking. Yeah. Oh, okay. Any other comments, questions, anything? Oh, Brett, yes, sorry, I see your hand now.
Yeah, just real quick. I addressed it in the message earlier, and I know we're running out of time, but what the Model UN does, the Model UN Club does for ARC, you know, y'all competing against like Stanford and UCLA and all those fancy 4-year schools, and ARC is right there with them. So it's pretty prestigious. And I mentioned in the chat some of the context and history of Senate and sponsoring Model UN. And their advisor, I'll give a shout out to their advisor / professor. They, honestly, I get to work with faculty in a variety of components, and they're one of the most involved. You know, the care for their students. They make my life easier with the paperwork in the past when they were going to the conference. I mean, everything was just like in order already. All I had to do was put a budget string on it and turn it in. It made my life so much easier. So, and she went to UCSB, so she's a fellow gaucho. But yeah, I just want to shout out to the club and to the students here today. So great work, and yeah, thanks.
Yeah, he's talking about Professor Callahan, and she really is amazing. So shout out to her as well. I will also say ARC always does incredible at this event. We always win awards, and our resolution papers, our policy statements, are used as examples on the website, on the MUNFW website, for what a resolution should look like. So I don't know. I always think that's kind of fun. Yeah. Okay. I'm bragging now, but okay. Yeah. Any other comments or concerns, questions? Okay. Sounds like we don't have anything else at this time. So with that, we will move on to committee reports. This time is reserved for committee chairs to provide the board with a brief report on the current standing of active committees. We do not have any active committees at this point, but I see Jacob's hand, so go ahead.
Committee man here again. So just a brief update in case anyone forgot, the governance committee, we completed all our work, missed the deadline. So everything's set up for next year. It just needs, attention to the amendments document. Probably not going to do the bylaws, probably leave that for next year. If someone wants to do it, might do it. Naomi looks like she still wants to do it, but that one's simple. The board just needs to vote on it. The get involved, get relief thing, timeline was too short. We decided to axe it. Then there was the Affordable Learning Materials Committee. We just got that update. And then the PeopleSoft Financial Aid. Mr. Funk touched on some of the stuff. One thing I wanted to note was that CalFresh was on that agenda, and that was also on the Financial Aid Regional Representatives agenda for the Chancellor's Office Financial Aid Committee. And so CalFresh is something that's kind of came back up, and it's becoming more relevant. There's a lot of work being done on CalFresh right now too, other than a lot of the Cal Grant reform stuff that I've mentioned God knows how many times. And then other than that, the Chancellor's Cabinet is still meeting. I believe they were finishing up the reopening plan, and I forget what else. I just got the new agenda. I'll do an update on that next time. We'll update on the stuff I can, and I think that's everything. I lose track of all the committees, so have a list.
Quite a few, yeah. Okay, thank you, Jacob. Shout out to Natalie for her comment about MUN. I love that. Okay, any other committee reports at this time? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to board member reports. I'm just going to briefly make one that I forgot to say in my chair's message, and that is a reminder about the graduations that are coming up. So there's the drive-through one that's May 19th. You need to register for that. I know there's a lavender graduation. Some folks might say more about that. And then another one I know of is the API one, but I'm pretty sure there are more. That's just the only one I know about. The only other one I know about. So any other board member reports or announcements at this time? Jacob. Okay, Jacob, then Mark, then Stacy.
Mine was just really quick, and then I'll be done talking. Just wanted to say shout out everyone that got their some acceptance letters, or those who are still working on transferring and just finished another semester. Great job, everyone, and keep working, and we'll all get to where we want to be one day.
Awesome, Jacob. Okay, Mark and Stacy.
Awesome. Just want to kind of reiterate and remind that April 29th, we have the Palooza event. So search us on, if I'm not mistaken, Naomi, if it's not on the website, it's on Instagram.
It's on Instagram.
Zoom link. Okay, y'all check out Instagram, ASB ARC's Instagram, and just come check out these cute, adorable animals that are up for adoption. Let's get them a nice home.
We have these flyers here that you can check out if you want to post them on your social media. And oops, where's the other one? Oh, I don't have the other one. The other one is like a Zoom screen. I really like that one. So if you want to help us publicize the event, we definitely would appreciate that. Okay, thank you, Mark. Stacy, I think I saw your hand raised. If so, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to remind everyone today is last call if you're interested in participating in our end of year Dungeons and Dragons campaign. This is a really low commitment game. It's mostly experimental, and hearing y'all talk about Model UN today reminded me of how much they're very similar things. So I would also like to extend the invitation to everyone who participated in Model UN. If you're interested, I will put the Google Doodle in the chat. It looks like we might be meeting next Tuesday at 5 p.m.
Oh yeah, we're having a practice session. I'm really excited. I love my character that I made. So I should go ahead.
Just a reminder, Lab Grad is May 7th from 5:30 to 7:30. Make sure you register if you're part of any Los Rios Community College and identify as LGBTQIA+ and graduating. Just come celebrate your achievements. But yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Sasha. I want to say again, I mentioned this during Chair's message, but I know some folks weren't there. Last night was the Art to Heart Trio event, and I think it went well, but if anyone wants to say more on that. Was there?
Sure.
Go ahead, Marika, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to thank everyone who came out. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Lori, for making the attempt to come out. It was really great. It was very relaxing, at least to like talk to people and listen to music and paint. So, and then we showed the paintings for Trio, and everyone kind of looked different, but it was so unique. So thank you all for coming.
I showed mine during during the Chair's message, but Mary Kay had provided a reference photo, and everybody was painting that one reference picture. Sorry, I think it was a painting actually. And then everyone was doing their own rendition. It was really fun to see how everybody's was different. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Mary Kay. Okay, any other board member reports or announcements? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address the Student Senate on issues not already appearing on the agenda. A limit of 2 minutes per speaker shall be observed with a maximum of 4 minutes per topic. No discussion is allotted on public comment. The law does not permit any action to be taken nor extended discussion of any items not on the agenda. The ASB Student Senate may briefly respond to statements made for questions posed. However, for further information, please contact the ASB Student Senate President for the item of discussion to be placed on a future agenda. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to make a comment? Okay, hearing and
Sorry, hi. Put my hand
yeah,
up.
Natalie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment. I wanted to be here especially to as one of the students in support of the STEM Center, and so I don't know how much everyone is aware of what's kind of happening with the STEM Center and how much that's been a topic of discussion previously, but I just wanted to bring it up. And basically, I hope that as a student, even though I'm transferring, I want to be able to speak in support of the STEM Center going forward, and the changes that are being made. You know, there have been discussions that, you know, oh, we're listening to, you know, the people that were a part of the STEM Center, and we want to listen to students. And so I just wanted to bring that up to the Student Senate and say, like, hopefully whatever you guys can do to make student voices heard in the decisions moving forward with the STEM home base merging kind of with the STEM Center. I don't know what that's going to look like exactly, but I would like to be a part of it. And you know, if at all possible. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring that up and see if you already have maybe something that, you know, you're communicating with the STEM home base or STEM Center. And yeah.
Thank you, Natalie. Jacob, if you want to make a brief comment on this topic, you are allowed to at this point.
You know, I'm not the STEM expert here. I assume that would be Sasha, but a lot of the focus has been on STEM with them. But from what I know, we don't have anything from the Student Senate specifically commenting on that. But there are these things called 9+1 rights, which are the things that students have the right to advocate for and us as student representatives. And so advocating for what students want and the changes we want to see made in the STEM Center would fall within those 9+1 rights. So we could set up an avenue for you or other students who want to express your concerns. We can set up avenues for you to be involved in those discussions with administration and staff. And so you can see some of the background and understand how it's going through and make sure that the student voice is heard.
Yes, thank you, Jacob. We also have 4 senators that are still on the board this year. We have 2 meetings still coming up, and there's still time to put a resolution on the agenda so we can formalize where Student Senate stands on this issue. So that is still an open avenue. Okay. Yeah, any other comments from the public at this time? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to adjournment. If there are no objections, this meeting will be adjourned at 11:57 a.m. Hearing and seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned.